Hey guys, welcome back to another sewing tutorial video specifically focused on the Renaissance Fair. I'm going to be showing you how to create a bodice with tails. I found this incredible sewing pattern for it on Etsy. I'll make sure to link it down below. But let's go ahead and dive right on into it. You'll want to start with your fabric. Mine is this beautiful Yayahan brocade that I'm going ahead and I'm taking the pattern pieces. There's really only 3 total pieces that you cut twice. The front, the side, and the back. We're going to trace all of those onto the fabric and cut them out. Next, you'll want to take your lining fabric. Mine happens to also be another Yayahan's brocade because I'm making this a reversible bodice. You don't have to do this if you want to take another nice fabric or just take any standard lining fabric you like. Trace out all the bodice pieces and go ahead and cut those out. From there, I'm pinning together the pieces of the bodice, and then separately I'm pinning together the pieces of the lining fabric for the bodice as well. We'll attach the two together later since we're going to be using bias tape for this. But you can go ahead and pin that all together and then sew those together so it's almost like you have 2 bodices at the end. And then try to remember, since we want this to have tails, you're not going to pin the 2 back pieces together all the way down. You're going to want to leave only the top portion and then the bottom half, which is kind of indicated based off the pattern. That's where you'll want to stop pinning and sewing. So leave that separate. So now I have a double fold wide bias tape. And what I'm doing is to, instead of hemming things in, I'm going around the entire edge and pinning and then sewing the 2 pieces together, the lining and the main fabric of our bodice. And instead we're gonna have that bias tape holding it. So that way you can have these ugly raw seams on the inside, but nobody's going to see them, which is lovely. That's the main thing, as long as nobody can see them. But that's how we're gonna attach those 2, is we're gonna use the bias tape and then sew that on. You could use a single fold instead of a double fold, by the way. I'm using double because I'm using 2 thick brocade fabrics and it's just a lot. Now, I use zip ties, like the very thick industrial ones, for my boning. That's what I'm doing. I'm cutting them to size for the 2 spots in the front by where my grommets are going to be. You can obviously use standard boning. That's totally your call. So you're going to go ahead and cut it, and then we just kind of slip it into the little pocket that's been formed and pin both the inner and outer sides because we want to make sure that's secure where it's at, and then we'll sew that in. I use a zipper foot anytime I'm sewing and boning. Probably didn't notice this. I did after I was done with sewing in the boning. I put bias tape on that edge. Now we're punching in the holes for our grommets. You do have to make sure those grommets get all the way through both sets of fabric, and especially if you're doing what I did with 2 brocades, it could be a little bit of a challenge. Then we're going to go ahead and install our grommets. You can either use a grommet press, or I'm using a hammer and anvil to add all of my grommets. And then I'm taking this really pretty gold cord to match the trim to lace up the bodice. But that is actually pretty much it for what you have to do. Thanks so much for watching this cosplay crafting tutorial. Sorry if it was a bit of a mess. If you want to see what we made actually with the finished cosplay, make sure to check the links in my description and let me know what your crafting questions are in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe so you can see what I'm crafting up next. Bye-bye!